Okay, so as of the 25th, a new way to play Siege has been added, called the SI, or Six Invitational playlist. As the name might suggest, if you have any experience watching the Siege Pro scene, this playlist has most of the rules you might expect from a professional match or competitive match of Siege. 7-second plant and defuse times, 2 offensive and 2 defensive bans per match. Instead of swapping each round between defensive and offensive, each team will play all of their defensive and then all of their offensive rounds, or vice versa, and a few more rule changes besides, all of which can be found in the article linked in the description below this video. Some rules have been omitted, such as the removal of points displaying on screen for accomplishing device removal, say, or when you injure someone, and there aren't any operator repicks. But other than that, we're talking about a fairly close approximation to what the pros play on a regular basis. This, for the more casual player base, is a great way to experience how strategy can really impact a match of Siege, as playing casually you might have less experience thinking about the site you might prefer to defend first, for example. Given how I've only recently started really playing Siege, for hours on end again, having this mode available, even if only until the 18th of February when apparently it will be taken down, I can really appreciate the opportunity to learn site-specific defenses and strategies, and for offense, different aggressive paths I could take for each individual site assault. For example, in casual, picking operators like Castle and Mirror is super risky, as in casual the sites are selected randomly. This can leave you spawning in as Mirror onto a site that really can't benefit from her gadget all too well. This doesn't mean she's going to be useless, as of course the rest of the map is still available, but her impact is going to be massively reduced when compared against her usage in ranked or competitive play, where you know what site you're picking, and therefore know from the start what strats you can employ. In this mode, this is never really an issue, and an edge it has over ranked play is that it gives the opportunity to experiment with the operator ban system. This was introduced into competitive play back around the time of Operation Parabellum, and has largely gone down quite well. It's easy to see why it might be a success if you have any experience with the MOBA genre, where pre-match hero or champion bans are really commonplace. And in Siege, they allow teams to either ban a generally strong operator, or counterban a specific player who might be a monster with a specific op. In short, it both adds massive strategic complexity and gives players the power to deal with problematic operators who might be seen as too strong at that moment in time. Admittedly, sometimes this power isn't enough, as with the case of Lion, who was being picked and banned so often he was deemed limiting to the competitive scene, which is pretty funny and sad at the same time, as essentially teams had to either burn a ban on him or face him in-game almost guaranteed if he didn't get banned. Thus, he got banned from being picked or banned altogether, essentially removing him from competitive play until his rework releases and is proven to work as intended. But in standard play, unless you're facing a full, coordinating team, he should be less of an issue, and for other operators the ban system seems to work as intended, forcing people to rethink and re-strategize. As you might have gathered, and as you might well expect given the mode being only temporary, this mode is not ranked in any way. A wide range of player skills and ranks can be experienced in every match, and to my eyes this is both a good and bad thing. It's good in the sense that players can see how better teammates do things, and maybe learn directly from this. This is a super organic and almost old school at this point way of teaching players to get better. If a teammate is stomping everyone or an opponent is stomping you, you can choose to either rage or try and unpick aspects of their play that you can use yourself in future. Until ranked systems became ubiquitous in multiplayer-focused games, including, of course, FPSs, This natural evolution of player skill was how the player base of any game would gradually improve over time. However, this lack of ranking is also bad in the sense that playing this mode for long can often see you, depending on your skill level, either go on long win streaks against clearly worse players, or go on long lose streaks against better players. Sometimes you might be doing well in a match, but your teammates might lose the game for you, not carrying their weight in terms of kills. And sometimes you might be harassed by your team simply because you can't keep up with what they are trying to do. In short, this is why ranked multiplayer is largely preferred over the old school improve or die system that we used to see. So, in summary, the mode is great in terms of its mechanics and rules, in my personal opinion, but probably most people would rather it was ranked, either invisibly so as to maintain its more apparent casual nature, or visibly so that you know how well you're doing compared to other people, your friends, etc, etc. I very much doubt that they will adjust the mode in any way before it's turned off, as quite frankly, given it's being turned off on the 18th, that would be a bit of a waste of time given how clearly temporary it is. But this feedback could be useful in future if they decide to bring the mode back in some way. So now we have to ask, why was this mode added in the first place? You have the obvious argument that it's a hype machine for the Six Invitational and wider competitive Siege system, where the theory might be from Ubisoft that if people play the way the pros do, maybe they will understand or appreciate the highest levels of play more. Whilst professional Siege or competitive Siege play has grown over the last year, there are still many people who play Siege but don't watch Siege. This is clearly an untapped number of fans and potential consumers, and so trying to hook them in via the in-game advertisement of competitive-based mode does make a lot of sense. However, the mode might also be serving a dual purpose, with its other purpose being to serve as a test or demo of sorts. This is because it is assumed that at some point, Ranked will officially be released from its ongoing beta status. Essentially, this has been a bit of a meme in the community, but for the devs, it has been there to indicate how they still intend to adjust Ranked in some way. A possible change they might have been considering, since presumably Operation Parabellum, when the pick ban system was first added, might be to add that very same system to Ranked, or even most of the competitive rule set to Ranked, as featured in this SI playlist. What better way to test its popularity than to soft launch it as a temporary game mode for everyone, be they serious players or casual, to try out for themselves. If this was the case, then I'd say that so far it has proven to be a success for the most part, with the only glaring issue currently being how people are playing against wildly varying skill levels, which, as I've mentioned, is mostly seen as just frustrating, and so is likely being looked at by Ubisoft. If Ubisoft were intending to replace Ranked with this mode, in addition to their current ranking system tagged on, then the previous issue is no longer a problem. If they were planning on instead adding this mode in as an additional playable mode alongside casual, ranked, this, terrorist hunt, etc, perhaps they would augment it in future when it gets added, if this was the case, with a hidden ranking system, ensuring players don't get stomped or have super, dumb easy matchups. Personally, I really enjoy this game mode, and intend to play it quite a lot over the next few weeks. The added strategic depth is really cool to think around, and I can only imagine it being even more fun the more players you can get grouped up on, and with mics. Given the largely positive response it's received, I do believe we will be seeing more of this mode in future, in some capacity, as mentioned. I hope you found this interesting, and I'll see you in the next one.